This writer concentrates on the poorer section of India and also oppressed section of India. Mulkraj Anand was an Indian writer in English, recognized for his depiction of the lives of the poorer class in the traditional Indian society. When you see, the author is playing with this boy, and this boy was the leader. He was an active member. He would entertain me with long, merry descriptions of the variety of things he saw in the bazaars of civilization. Hello students, I am Anil, Assistant Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. In this session, we are going to look at a short story by Mulkraj Anand titled Barber'S Trade Union for the students of BBA second semester. Before we get into the story, let us know about the author, Mulkraj Anand. Mulkraj Anand was an Indian writer in English, recognized for his depiction of the lives of the poorer class in the traditional Indian society. One of the pioneers of Indo-Anglican fiction, he, together with R.K. Narayan, Ahmad Ali, and Rajarao, was one of the first India-based writers in English to gain an international readership. Anand is admired for his novels and short stories, which have acquired the status of classics of modern Indian English literature. They are noted for their perspective, insight into the lives of the oppressed, and for their analysis of impoverishment, exploitation, and misfortune. This writer concentrates on the poorer section of India and also oppressed section of India. So here his novels or his stories, they talk about those characters. He became known for his protest novel. What is this protest novel? That means in all of his novels or short stories, there are characters which rebel against the societal norms. Protest novels Untouchable, which was written in 1935, which was followed by other works on the Indian poor such as Coolie, which was written in 1936, and Two Leaves and a Bud in 1937. He is also noted for being among the first writers to incorporate Punjabi and Hindustani idioms into English and was a recipient of the civilian honor of Padma Bhushan, the third highest civilian award of the Republic of India. This is about Mulkraj Anand. Today, let us look at a short story which is titled Barber'S Trade Union. We shall go in detail about the story. The story starts like this. Among the makers of the modern India, Chandu, the barber, boy of my village, has a place which will be denied him unless I press for the recognition of his contribution to history. So here the author is trying to tell that he is highlighting his story. If it is not highlighted, then his efforts would go in vain. Chandu's peculiar claim to recognition rested to tell the truth on an exploit of which he did not know the full significance. But then, unlike most great men of India today, he had no very exaggerated notion of his own importance. Chandu did not know about his importance, and here the author is trying to give him importance. I knew Chandu even in the days when he wore a piece of rag in the middle of his naked, distended, bellied body, and when he wallowed together in the mire of the village lanes, playing at soldering, shopkeeping, or clerking, or other title games which we invented for the delectation of our stew cells and of our mothers, who alone of all the elders condescended to notice us. So here the author is telling, the speaker of this short story tells that he was a close friend of Chandu. They used to play together when they were kids or children. Chandu was senior to me by about 6 months, and he took the lead in all matters. I willingly followed because truly he was a genius at catching wasps and at pressing the poison out of their tails, tying their tiny legs to cotton threads and firing them, while I always got bitten on the cheeks if I dared to go anywhere near the platform of the village well, where insects settled on the puddles to drink water. So here we get to know that Chandu was the leader among them. So when you see, the author is playing with this boy, and this boy was the leader. He was an active member. When we grew older, he still seemed to me the embodiment of perfection, because he could make and fly paper kites of such intricate designs and of such balance as I could never achieve. To be sure, he was not so good at doing sums at schools, perhaps because his father apprenticed him early to the hereditary profession of the Barber'S caste. So here we get to know that the Chandu belongs to the Barber'S caste and sent him out cutting hair in the village. But he was better than I at reciting poetry any day, for not only did he remember by rote the verses in the textbook, but he could repeat the endless pages of prose so that they seemed like poetry. Here the author is appreciating the qualities of Chandu. Though he belonged to the Barber'S caste, he could not do sums because his father sent him to his hereditary profession, that is, cutting hair of people. But he was good at his memory. He could recite all the verses and he could also recite the endless pages of prose. My mother resented the fact that Chandu won a scholarship. In this sentence, we get to know that Chandu was also an intelligent boy, while I had to pay fees to be taught, and she constantly dissuaded me from playing with him, saying that Chandu was a low-caste Barber's son and that I ought to keep up the status of my caste and class. But whatever innate ideas I had inherited from my forefathers, I certainly hadn't inherited any sense of superiority. So here he says his mother did not allow him to go and play with Chandu because she was reminding him that he belonged to the upper caste and Chandu belonged to the lower caste. But the author says, I inherited many qualities, but I did not inherit this differentiating character. Indeed, I was always rather ashamed of the red caste mark which my mother put on my forehead every morning and of the formalized pattern of the achkin, the tight white cotton trousers, the gold-worked shoes, and the silk turban in which I was dressed. I longed for the right to wear all the spectacular conglomeration of clothes which Chandu wore. So here, the author says that he was not happy with his customary dress. He always appreciated Chandu's way of dressing. A pair of khaki shorts which the retired Subedar had given him, a frayed black velvet waistcoat decorated all over with shell buttons and a round felt cap, which had once belonged to Lalla Hukum Chand, the lawyer of our village. This Chandu, he was a poor boy. So what he did, he collected clothes from those who gave him. So he had that khaki dress and her topi to wear. Therefore, this boy, the author, the speaker, he appreciated Chandu's way of dressing. He wanted to be like him, but his mother did not allow that. And I envied Chandu the freedom of movement which he enjoyed after his father died of plague. The author is telling one more thing, that Chandu had freedom to travel wherever he wanted. He would do the round of shaves and haircut at the houses of the high caste notables in the morning, then bathe and dress and steal a ride to town 6 miles away on the rest of the closed carriage, on the footrest of the closed carriage in which Lalla Hukum Chand travelled to town. So what he did, Chandu did his job in the morning and then he cleaned himself, he bathed, he dressed himself and he went to town. He was standing on the footrest of Lalla Hukum Chand, who was a lawyer. But Chandu was kind to me. He knew that I was seldom taken to town and that I had to trudge 3 weary miles to a secondary school in the big village of Jodiyala. With the fear of God in my heart, while he had been completely absolved from the ordeal of being flogged by cruel masters as he had left school on his father's death. So he often brought me some gift or other from the town, a paintbrush or a gold ink or white chalk or double-edged razor knife to sharpen pencils with. And he would entertain me with long merry descriptions of the variety of things he saw in the bazaars of civilization. Chandu was a good friend of the author, and he says while he was in secondary school getting bored with the teaching and all, this boy Chandu, he enjoyed a lot, but he did not forget his friend. He brought many interesting things from the bazaars or the market, and he gave it to him, and he described everything like it was in front of his eyes. He was particularly detailed in his description of the wonderful English styles of clothes which he saw the sahibs and the lawyers, the chaprasis and the policemen wearing at the district court, where he had to wait for the journey home at the footman's Baran Lalla Hukum Chand's landau. And once or twice, he expressed to me that secret wish he had to steal some money from the picture where his mother kept the emoluments of his professional skill to buy himself an outfit like that of Kalam Khan. Kalam Khan was a doctor. He was the dentist who, he said, performed miracles in the town, fitting people with rows of teeth and even new eyes. He described to me the appearance of Kalam Khan, a young man with hair parted on one side, dressed in a starched shirt with an ivory collar and bow tie, black coat and striped pantaloons, and a wonderful rubber overall and pump shoes. And he recounted to me the skill with which the magician unpacked an engrazy leather handbag and flourished his shining steel instruments. So here, Chandu was attracted by the profession of dentist, Kalam Khan, and he wanted to imitate him by wearing his clothes. So this was the desire of Chandu. So he expressed his desire to his close friend, that is the author. Then he asked my advice on the question of whether, as a barber, educated to the 5th primary class, he would not look more dignified if he too wore a dress in the style of Dr. Kalam Khan. For though I am not a highly educated doctor, he said, I learned how to treat pimples, boils and ulcers on people's bodies from my father, who learned how from his father before him. Here Chandu expresses that he wants to wear that cloth, but his profession does not allow it, it does not look good on it. But still, Chandu says that even I can treat some of the smaller boils, pimples, etc. on people. Therefore, he considers himself also as a doctor. I agreed with his project and encouraged him with the enthusiasm that I felt for everything that my hero thought of or did. So here, the speaker, the author is a very good human being. So he appreciated whatever Chandu did. Chandu was a motivational personality. So he says he wants to wear a dress like Dr. Kalam Khan, though he did not study to become a doctor, but he knew how to treat some of the small pimples, boils and ulcers, etc., which he learned from his father, and his father learned from his father. So it was a professional job, but he wants to wear a dress which is not fit for himself. But the author was very happy to look at Chandu, and he encouraged whatever Chandu did. So here we come to finish the first part of the Barber's Trade Union. Here we get to know who Chandu is. Chandu is a barber boy. His father dies in his young age and he takes up his father's job. Early morning, he used to go to the houses of the notable people of the town and shave there and give them a clean shave. Then he would ready himself, he go to the town. After going to the town, he comes back. He explains everything to his friend, the author, the speaker. And he is attracted by the dress of Dr. Kalam Khan, who is a dentist. And he expresses this feeling to his friend. And his friend was really looking at his friend's excitement, and he always saw him as a leader, and he always saw him as a motivational personality, and he encouraged everything that he did. So let us look at what happens in the second part and the third part in the next sessions. Thank you.